Okay, I'm going to start anyway. So at least we'll have the video. Okay, week 13. So that's week 13, 14, 15, 16, done. And 16 is final week. So we're coming to the close. So week 13 starts a new adventure. So we're done with the textbook. We're done with all those reports. You can keep using your textbook for reference, whatnot, for the exam. The final exam, of course, will be comprehensive, so you'll need to review that stuff. But what we're doing now is we're starting in the last 3 weeks, not counting the final week. We're doing our final project, which is a report, and it's focused on technical writing. So the name of this course is Business and Technical Writing. And up to this point, it's all been business writing. But these last 3 weeks will be devoted to technical writing. So what we're going to do is we're going to begin our final assignment. We're going to use the 3x3 writing process, and we have 3 weeks left, and there's 3 phases in the process, so that works out. Each week we'll be using one of the phases. And what we're going to learn this week is we're going to dive into technical writing, understand the differences between business writing and technical writing, understand how the scope of technical writing final assignment will affect your last 3 weeks, how to apply the pre-writing phase, which consists of the analyze, anticipate, and adapt activities. And then for the grammar part, we're going to learn how to use the indefinite articles a versus an in a sentence. And then we're going to look at some homophones that people often get confused. There, and there, and two, and two. And what we're going to do, the usual, read all the module pages. So since we're done with the textbook, I kind of wrote my own textbook on technical writing. It's only about 7 pages long. We're going to look at that today. And then we're going to just fill out a worksheet for the pre-writing phase where you sort of describe your analysis part. And then we got the grammar stuff we'll do in class, correcting some sentences for a versus and, there, two, and two. There's a small module quiz and a discussion. Okay. All right, let's talk about technical writing. I think I'm going to use my PDF file because it's a little bit better to read. Okay, technical writing. What is it? Well, technical writing is business writing. So it's not like a new thing. In fact, a lot of people, if you read a bunch of books on technical writing, which I've been doing lately, a lot of people don't even make a distinction. They just like, yeah, this is business writing, there's no difference. But I think there is a difference. So we're going to make a distinction in this class between technical writing and business writing. But what the situation is technical writing is business writing, but it's got more to it. So it's, if you look at my little Venn diagram here, you can see technical writing is completely subsumed by business writing. So all the things that you've been learning about business writing, they all apply to technical writing. But we're going to go over some of the extra things that technical writing has that business writing doesn't have, just by itself. So the very first thing about technical writing versus business writing is that in business writing, yeah, sure, sending, reports and memos around about various topics in business, but generally speaking, you're not going to be talking about things that other people don't understand. You're working within the normal, everyday business problem domain. So yeah, you might be telling someone about a new thing or something like that, but they're going to understand all the terms because it's business as usual. Accounts, payments, due dates, various reports, sales, all that stuff. Everybody already understands all that stuff, what that stuff is in the normal, everyday business problem domain. But in technical writing, That's not the case. Often, the reader is not familiar with the problem domain, or even the language that you're going to use in that domain. And in a lot of cases, that causes anxiety about the problem domain. They're afraid of it. It's new. They don't understand these words. They don't know what you're talking about. It's uncomfortable for them. So your job as a technical writer is to gently guide them through the problem and introduce its unique language, the definitions. So in that way, you're acting more like a translator from this foreign technology terminology of that problem domain into more everyday language. You need to explain complicated concepts in clear, easy to understand prose. Well, clear and easy to understand, we know how to do that. That's normal business writing. Your mission is to explain to a non-expert how to use technology. Okay, so that's one of the unique things about technical writing versus regular business writing. But it goes beyond that. As a technical writer, unless you're part of the development team, like if it's a software product, unless you're part of the software development team, often, people wear more than one hat. But if you're like, I'm just a technical writer here, you're not going to know about this problem domain yourself. You're not going to know anything about this product yet, or even some of the technology terms. So you yourself are not familiar with the problem domain. So you need to rely on outside information in the form of various things, research, internal information. Most importantly, what we call a subject matter experts. So these are the people who are part of the development process. They're software engineers, hardware engineers, mechanical engineers, whatever the heck they are. They're the ones actually building the thing. They're going to be your go-to to get information that you need in order to write your technical documents. So, we always talk about business writing as the kind of writing that gets things done. So if you think about that, technical writing is then, well, yeah, it gets things done, but it gets a specific thing done for a user of the technology that we're talking about. So because of that, for technical writing, we usually refer to the reader as the user. And you're sort of their, you fight for them. You're on their side, right? Anybody recognize where this picture came from? This is old school. No, Tron, the old original Tron movie. Okay, so we're going to talk about the user when we talk about who we're writing for. Another thing about technical writing versus normal business writing is often the stakes are much higher in terms of safety for things we're trying to get done in this technical domain than a normal business domain. So you really need to be even more concerned with clarity and ethics, even more so than in your normal business writing. So yeah, it's always important, but a mistake in business writing is bad, sure, but what's going to happen is maybe you'll lose an account, maybe you lose some money, something like that. But in the technical domain, a mistake can cause damage or maybe even the loss of life. So no matter how good a product is, maybe it's the best product ever, if the documentation is bad, the product's going to fail. And I'm sure we've all had an experience with a product or service that we really wanted to use, but because the documentation was either just non-existent or very poor, it was so frustrating that we ended up trying and did something else. Here's my little picture about that. Dear help desk, my computer kept telling me I have an invalid username or password. Now my keyboard doesn't work. So every time you read about technical writing, you're probably going to come across this 5 C's thing. The 5 C's of technical writing: clear, concise, complete, consistent, and correct. So clear and concise, we already know about those. That's the same for business writers. That's what we've been practicing all this time. So again, we strive for clarity and conciseness. Readers shouldn't have to reread multiple sentences or go outside what you're writing to them to look for other stuff or look up the meanings of technical words. So we're gonna do all the things we do for normal business writing to make things clear and concise, but we're gonna extend that for technical writing to only use those complex technical terms when necessary and appropriate. You're not gonna try and just dazzle people with a bunch of technical buzzwords. Yes, you're gonna need them. Yes, you're gonna have to define them, but you only need them when you need them. Just don't throw them out there to sound smart. Try to select words that have one clear meaning. One of the biggest problems with technical writing is you can use words that can have multiple meanings and then people get confused. Define terms, abbreviations, acronyms that may be new or maybe used in a different way than they're familiar with. Include clear examples to help put unfamiliar words and concepts in context for readers. Focus on helping users complete tasks. Again, you are fighting for the user. You're their advocate. So that's the clear and concise part. Complete. So a complete document is one that stands by itself. You don't need to consult other documents. So in order to do that, you want to include all relevant information in sufficient detail. Any additional resources, maybe an appendix to make sure users have additional information they need. The next C is consistent. Having technical writing that exhibits consistency, that'll help the user understand the information better and quicker and make them feel better about you, the writer. So follow, similar writing and design conventions throughout your document, the heading, styles, typeface, comma placement, list, all those things, all those style options we have for grammar, just whatever you choose, be consistent with it through the whole document. So we haven't talked about this yet. That's coming up next week, but citation style and bibliography, make sure that's consistent throughout the entire document. Again, we're going to talk about that next week. Make sure any elements that you have, like charts and graphs, look consistent in how they're introduced, presented, color schemes, how you label the axes. Make sure they're all consistent. Make sure additional elements such as lists follow similar conventions, employ parallelism. Make sure list items are the same parts of speech, such as a noun or verb. These are the same things you've already been doing. Make sure the document is structured, highly organized with clear navigation. You want to make sure that you have, your table of contents. Hopefully you have a bibliography, index, all that kind of stuff. Okay, and then the last C is correct. What's the last C? Yes. So you need to technical writing, you need to make sure the writing is correct. Well, don't you always? Well, yeah, but as I mentioned, the stakes are much higher here. And of course, these will cover the aspects that's in your control, such as grammar, mechanics, spelling, as well as aspects that may not be under your control. You need to consult with other people on, such as those subject matter experts, to make sure that they say, yeah, what you're saying is correct and true. So that means you're going to need to consult with other colleagues and subject matter experts to make sure your content is correct. Use error-free writing that enhances understanding, trust, and credibility, just like it was above. If you're consistent and correct, that's going to instill confidence in your writing to the user that reads it. So here's some tips to get things correct. Start earlier, revise often, so you have time to address issues of correctness throughout publishing. Another thing here is that it's a moving target, right? You're writing the documentation as the product's being developed, probably. So you may write some things and then they may change how it works. So there's going to be some revisions in there. As I just mentioned, consult the others to get feedback and fresh perspectives on the correctness of your writing, and then be proactive in consulting with others. This is one of those things where you can't do technical writing in a vacuum. You need to be constantly consulting with those subject matter experts. And then the last thing here is you need to understand the user that you're writing to thoroughly in order to provide the right information in the right kind of format. And one of the challenges here that we're going to talk about in a second is that can be diverse. That can be flat out beginners who've never even seen anything about this problem domain, and there could be experts in this. And you need to write a document that satisfies all those users throughout that spectrum. Okay, so what kind of documents does a technical writer produce? all kinds of things. I'm sure, we've all had experience reading these things. Things like installation guides, user guides, troubleshooting guides, frequently asked questions, knowledge bases, training manuals, policies, procedures, white papers. Now, this one's the important because this is what your final project is. It's a white paper. That's a document that explains a specific technical problem and it will provide a proposed solution or technology. Sort of a background information thing that you can think of. API, Application Program Interface documentation. This is for software. This documents how another software developer would use your software. So things like Canvas that we're on right now, it has APIs that Canvas developers can use to write extensions to it, for example. Release notes, also another software thing, usually a software thing. Every time an update comes out for software, you need to write a note about what's different in the software, what's changed. Product requirements document. These are when you're working on a new product at a company. And this document will detail the requirements that this product should have, focusing on user needs, goals, and high-level features. So it's not really a super highly technical document. That's a separate document that comes out of here. This is sort of the roadmap for everybody on the team to understand what this product is about and what it needs to have. Everybody on the team would be like, of course, engineering, the designers, QA team, they all need to be aligned on what we're building. So many products fail because different people have different ideas about what the thing they're actually building. Product specification. So this typically would come out of this product requirement document. This takes that and then further explains and defines how we're going to build this thing, the technical details that it has, the user interface, implementation steps. System architecture diagrams. This would be, again, for software stuff. These would be like pictures that diagram how the different parts of the system interact with each other. Test plans are plans that the QA department uses to figure out, does this thing do what it's supposed to do according to the product specification? This is just some. There's many more, but these are the ones I thought were the most common. How does a technical writer get information? Like I mentioned a couple of times, you need to be in constant contact with your subject matter experts. You probably don't even know anything about this technology either. It might be a brand new thing. So just like business writing, you use secondary research, such as periodicals and journals, any specifications that someone else hopefully has written already. Might actually have some prototypes that the engineering department has been working on that you can play with, interact with. There may be legacy documentation for like the Model 1, now you're working on Model 2. But the most important thing are those developers, those subject matter experts, we call them SMEs or SMEs. And then just like your business writing, you can also use primary research that you might do, such as interviews or focus groups. Who reads these documents that you make? So they may be targeted to a specific set of users, or you may need to span, as I mentioned before, multiple user groups. Some of these different groups could be the experts. So these are the people that know everything about it. And you're writing this document more or less just to document what they know. Often they have advanced degrees and they operate in an academic setting and research, and they can be kind of out there and sometimes difficult to talk to. It's an art form to talk to them. Next, we have the technicians. So these are the people who are familiar with this technology. They're the ones that build, operate, maintain, and repair these things. So they may not, have the high-level theory, but they know how this thing actually works. And it's funny that a lot of times the technicians will know something that the experts don't, because they actually are the boots on the ground using the thing. So it's more of a practical nature. And then we have the executives. So these are the people that are going to be making the business and economic decisions. Could be political about the products. The experts and technicians are. And they usually don't have a lot of technical knowledge. I mean, sometimes the executives are also like PhDs or whatever, but most of the time, no. And so they're going to be pretty much similar in terms of what they understand to the non-specialists that we're going to talk about in a second. So the non-specialists, these are just the readers that have the least technical knowledge of all. They just want to use the thing and to accomplish their task. They want to understand the new power that this technology, gives them, enough to know whether to say, yeah, we want that thing, or no, we don't want that thing. Big one now is all these data centers, or AI data centers that communities are being asked to build. So, well, we need to understand that thing. So maybe you're going to write a paper, technical document about data centers, what resources they use, how many resources they use, so that a non-specialist can read that and go, oh, yeah, I want that data center in my town, or I do not want that data center in my town. So yeah, here's the problem, like I touched on briefly. Experts and technicians, hey, they don't need to know all the technical terms. They already know this stuff. But the other groups that we talked about, they definitely will need definitions of acronyms, abbreviations. So you may have an audience that fits into just one of these categories. You're only talking to the technician. You're writing procedure on how to repair something. But most often not. Most often you're writing something that spans multiple user categories. So what do? Well, if you write to the lowest common denominator of user, you're going to end up with this document that's really cumbersome for those experts and technicians and tedious for them to read. However, if you don't write to that lowest level, then you're going to lose that segment of your readers that are the non-specialists and the executives. So what do? You could write for the majority of users and sacrifice that minority that needs more help. Or you could put supplemental information in an appendix, or make a lot of cross-references to beginners' books. Or you could use a summary section to address the more savvy user and use the body of the document to explain the topics for the rest of your user. I've been noticing a lot of documents now have that too long, didn't read. They have a section or executive summary. Sometimes they have that. And then related to that, your user groups could also span diverse cultures and languages. So you may need to modify things like idioms. We know what idioms are? Those are like figures of speech, like a stitch in time saves nine, or too many cooks spoil the broth, those kind of things. Well, other cultures might not understand that idiom. It makes no sense in their culture or language. So you may have to avoid using those or use simpler ones. Graphics, simple things that you may think are fine as graphics, but could be, almost an insult to a different culture. So just keep that in mind. You may be writing for multiple cultures. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to use the 3x3 process for this final project, one phase per each of the 3 weeks. And I don't know if you remember, but way back at the very beginning, module 1, we had this video that described the 3x3 process, just so you had some background for the rest of the class. Last semester, we totally even started with 3x3 process. So this is sort of coming full circle. We're going to end with the 3x3 process in a practical manner. We're going to actually use it. So, as I mentioned, consists of 3 phases. Each of those phases has 3 activities. So the phases are pre-writing, drafting, and revising. And in the pre-writing, the activities are analyze, anticipate, and adapt. In the drafting phase, the activities are research, organize, and draft. And in the revising phase, it's edit, proofread, and evaluate. And this is right out of your textbook. So in an ideal world, in a perfect world, we would do the pre-writing, we'd move to drafting, we move to revising, and we're done. But in the real world, often you have to iterate between these things. Refining and refining and refining. So, things change, requirements change. Things emerge as their work's being done. Maybe the business world has changed. Another competitor came out with exactly the same product. You're like, oh, we're gonna have to switch. So, back to the pre-writing phase. And then with that, typically you don't spend the same amount of time in each of these phases. You might be surprised to learn that you spend at least half your time in just the revising, and you only spend about 25% of your time in each one of these. So let's talk about the pre-writing phase. So this is what you do before you write anything, pencil, keyboard. Before you do that, you can do some pre-writing analysis. I mean, really, after all, how do you know where you're going to go? In this, you spent some time figuring out where you are and why. So just spending a little time here, like I mentioned, it's only usually 25% of the total time. Spending a little time in this phase can really help reduce the time spent in the other phases because it keeps you from going down the wrong paths. And as I mentioned, the activities in this phase are analyze, anticipate, and adapt. Let's talk about each one of those in a little detail. So analyze. And the very first thing you do is you analyze this project. And the best way to do that is to create a work plan, including the problem statement, the purpose statement. Remember, we did that already back in Module 9. And just to kind of reiterate what was mentioned back in Module 9 about this, about the problem statement. You think about the problem statement as sort of the, if you were thinking of your writing project as a person coming in to see a doctor, for example, the problem statement would be your diagnosis, right? This is what I think is wrong. And then going more over the problem statement. The problem statement identifies very specific issue or issues, explains why this issue matters. It's why you're here and why you're writing this. Why does this document need to exist? Okay, so that's the problem statement. That's different than the purpose statement. The purpose statement, if that problem statement was the diagnosis of the patient, then the purpose statement is the treatment plan. The purpose statement is, okay, you see the problem, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about this problem? What's the scope of this problem? Well, what are we not going to talk about? What kind of research are we going to need? Are you going to use primary research, secondary research, both of them? So the problem statement tells you what's wrong, what's missing, or what's not understood. And then your purpose statement says exactly what your study is going to do about it. Problem creates the urgency, the purpose creates the direction. So that's your analysis phase, or analysis activity in this phase. And they anticipate activity. So now that you've done that, the next thing you need to do is anticipate how the user is going to react to this document. Are you going to need to use the direct or the indirect strategy? Are they going to be accepting of the information, or are they going to be pushback? Are you going to use a formal or informal writing style? Are you going to need to use any of your persuasive messaging techniques? Should your tone be conversational? What media channel are you going to use to deliver this? Is this going to be a paper document, electronic document, an email? Maybe it's like just a PowerPoint presentation. Maybe it's just an infographic. What kind of headings are you going to use? Functional or talking? And like we mentioned above, sometimes you can have one really focused group that you're talking to, or a very diverse group. What's the situation here? Is there going to be more than one group of users reading this document? Are they at different levels of familiarity with the material? Okay, so once you've done those two activities, the last one you do in this phase is you adapt. So you use all that information and you adapt your document to the users you've identified, right? But you haven't written anything yet. This was just the pre-writing phase. Once you've done that, that's done. You move into the drafting phase. So this will be us next week. So here's where you use all the stuff that you discovered in the pre-writing phase and you begin to get your words down on paper. So the activities in this phase are researching, organizing, and drafting. So depending on if you decided, your pre-writing phase, whether you're going to use, what kind of research you're going to use, primary, secondary, or both. This is where you gather all that research, all the papers you've identified, interview your subject matter experts, find any journal articles, do any surveys, this is where you get all your research. Now you have your research. Now you need to organize that research. So this is where you come up with an outline. You can begin creating sort of the skeleton of your document by creating an outline. Now that outline will ultimately usually just become the headings of your document. And then using this skeleton analogy, you add flesh to your skeleton by creating your draft. So at that point, you need to decide like, well, am I going to have any graphs, figures, tables? So the main purpose of drafting is to sketch out ideas in writing. And it's best to just get your ideas down on paper. Try to get into this flow state that I keep talking about. Limit your distractions, avoid multitasking. Fixing specific problems in sentences, words, grammar, spelling, usage, or mechanics in writing can be distracting, right? So don't worry about that stuff in the drafting phase. Don't worry about your spelling, grammar at this point. You're going to fix that later in the revising phase. At this point, you're just trying to get your ideas down on paper. Don't worry about the organization of it. First, second, third, just whatever, do it in whatever order you want. So, you may, as you're writing your draft, you may like, oh, yeah, that's not right. I'm going to have to come back. Just make yourself a note in your draft. Yeah, come back to this. This isn't right. You do this. This has to be redone. So as you're doing your draft, you might find that you need to locate or develop some more data. It needs to maybe confirm some of your existing data. So you can just, again, write some notes in the comments in there. I need to add something about this median response time, or I need some figures, or I need to check the maximum values. Don't go off and look at that yet. Just make a note of it. Keep moving forward. Just keep your flow going. And as I mentioned above, you're going to iterate between drafting and revising phases probably multiple times. And I also just mentioned, you don't need to write the document in the order of your outline. So most people, I think, they don't write the introduction and the conclusion in that order. They go into the middle and start writing. And once they have the body part done, now they know what to say in the conclusion and the introduction. I have a whole module in week 15 that talks about blank page syndrome. And you're looking at the blank page and you just can't get ideas to flow, and some techniques to do that. And then the last phase is the revising phase. So this is where you take all that raw material of your research in your draft and you polish it. So the activities in this phase are editing, proofreading, and evaluating. So editing, this is where you use all the things we've been learning, all of your business writing knowledge. You're going to edit your draft to follow those 5 C's I just talked about: clear, concise, complete, consistent, and correct. We're going to apply all the grammar lessons we've learned, apply the writing techniques we've learned, and here's a list of all the things you might be surprised that you've learned in this class already. And then the next activity is proofreading. So as we talked about earlier, proofreading can be a problem because you're so involved in your own document, you can't see the forest because of the trees. That's an idiom. So as the writer, it can be hard to see your mistakes that are right in front of you. So if possible, have another person help you proofread it. If you can't do that, or in addition to that, it can help just to put your draft aside for a day, come back to it with fresh eyes. Now you'll see, so I do this every single time. I'll do a draft, I'll put it aside, come back the next day, look at it again, I'm like, what? That's not right. So obvious, what's right there in front of me? Slow down. Read the document over a couple of times, more than a couple of times. Just slow down. And then the last activity in this phase is evaluate. So this is where you want to look at your draft. Hopefully it's your final draft, but maybe not. Look at this draft. Compare that against those pre-writing problem and purpose statements that you did. Did you cover everything you meant to cover? If not, you may need to do another iteration. Get those missing items, or maybe you need to add a diagram. You might think will make this better. But that said, don't get stuck in an endless loop of improvement. Perfection is the enemy of done. If you have a deadline, let that dictate your doneness. Hey, I got to have this writing done on that date. It's done on that date. whether you think it's good or not, done on that date. Even if you don't have a hard deadline, you might want to do this time boxing. We're going to talk about that later too. Time boxing means you're just going to say, I'm not going to spend any more than whatever you say, 15 minutes writing this introduction. Go to take your phone out, set the timer 15 minutes, start writing your introduction. When your phone bings, stop, I'm done. Doesn't mean you won't come back to it necessarily, it just means you put it aside. Okay, so that's my little mini textbook on technical writing. Are there any questions on any of that stuff? That was a lot. You have this document to go back to. All right, let's talk about your final project. So for the next 3 weeks, we're going to be creating a technical writing assignment for your final project. It would be really, really nice if you were all caught up with all your old work before you began this. So you don't have to worry about that. And then you can just have clean slate for the last 3 weeks to do your final project. Each week, we're going to explore one of the phases of the 3x3 process, and we're going to apply that to our project. So recall that you did a work plan already, and when you did module 9 for the same exact thing, the same topic. To refresh your memory, you worked for CABT Prosthetics, a company that makes artificial limbs. At this point in time, all the work is done by hand, with each limb custom designed for each customer, which makes the work labor intensive and requires a high degree of skill. You've been tasked with writing a formal report on the use of 3D scanning, 3D printing, and CAD technologies to either supplement or replace the traditional methods of production. So you're going to be writing a technical white paper to explain these technologies and how they would apply to the process of manufacturing prosthetic devices. So recall that a white paper is a document that talks about a technical problem and provides a proposed solution for technology. Okay. So to help you with doing your research on this, I was like, oh, well, you know, in the real world, you have a subject matter expert. I mean, you have other things too, but mostly you have subject matter experts, people that you talk to, and you go to them and you say, excuse me, can I have half an hour of your time? Here's a donut. Can you explain to me how this screen on this app on the phone works? And you take in your notes or your recording. Well, we don't have that. I can't be there all the time to answer questions about this stuff. So what I've done is I've created a robot for that. So we have an AI learning partner called your Technical Writing SME. And you can ask it questions about 3D scanning, 3D printing, and CAD technologies. Okay, so what is this thing? So I've set up this, it's a dedicated AI learning assistant. It's not a general chat GPT kind of thing. It's specific to this. And we're using a system called Nectar AI that Cabrillo subscribes to. So like I said, it's not a generic chatbot. I built it using our actual course materials, and I've only trained it on 3D scanning, 3D printing, and CAD technologies. Think of it as your study partner that's available anytime. It never judges you. I don't even know what questions you ask it. I get a general kind of, people have been asking questions about this, but I don't know what you asked, so don't worry about that. Here's a quick video if you want to watch it. It's important that we use approved AI tools from the college, from the community college system, because the ones that are out there, the Anthropics or the ChatGPTs or the Copilot, whatever, they don't have the guardrails that we need for using it in an educational environment. So we're currently evaluating a couple of these things. There's one called PlayLab and this one Nectar that Cabrillo is evaluating. And this is all new stuff for all of us, right? And I looked at them both and I decided that I thought Nectar looked a little bit better, so we're going with that for now. But yeah, these have been approved by the college. They call FERPA safe. I don't know what that stands for. Sure, we can look it up. So it's free for you to use. It's available 24/7. I built it on our content only. How do you use it? So I have it integrated right here. Go over to your Nectar AI if you want to follow along with me while I'm talking about it. Feel free to do that. Go over to this Nectar AI. Like that. And I'm already logged in or whatever. But the very first time you use it, it's going to ask you a couple of things to, can I use cookies? Yes. It's two questions. Can I use cookies? And I forgot the other one. It's like you have to sign away, your firstborn and give them your credit card number. Just kidding. Okay, so once you've answered those two questions, you'll never have to answer them again. You'll come up to this prompt. And you just ask it questions. And I have some pre-canned ones here for you to get started. So, like, I don't know, I'll just put this one. So it'll go think, think, think. Think, think, think. And then it's going to tell you all about FDM printing in this example, right? Here's an important thing. I have it set so that you can ask it, where'd you get your info? You click this thing, it's going to tell you what article I trained it with, where I got this information, and you can go to that document. In fact, I have links in the module outside of these documents too. Okay, so here's what it says about FDM printing. I'll let you look at that, whatever. You can copy this to your clipboard, paste it in, use it to help you draft. Okay, what else to say about this? You can go back and look at your history of things you've asked it. You can refine things. So you ask it a question, it still knows you asked it that question. And so you can say more, like, it usually will give you some things like, you can ask me more about this. Like maybe you were like, I don't understand what thermoplastic filament is. Can you tell me about thermoplastic filament? And it will tell you more, right? Okay, so that's your subject matter expert. Let's see, let's go back. Go back. Here's some more things I thought you could ask it just to kind of get started. You can do more than just ask it questions in the chat box there. You can attach files, drafts, notes, photos, even of things to give it more information in order to answer the question. So like I mentioned, I can't read your chats. I only see sort of an aggregated trends thing. What you use it for stays between you and it. So here's some questions people usually ask. Is this cheating? No, because I set it up specifically for this purpose. You're supposed to use it to study you and deepen your understanding, not to replace your own thinking. How is this different than something like ChatGPT? So this is specifically built for educational purposes. It's connected to the content that I fed it. Doesn't train on your data, doesn't share anything. Do you have to pay for it? No. What should I use it for? You can't ask it to write your assignments, it won't do it. It's here to help you learn, not do the work for you. Okay. So it's 10:30. There's more here than I can do shortly. So let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break. And when we come back, we'll talk more about this pre-writing phase. Okay, so we'll be back 10:40. Okay, we're back. Battling with the leaf blower man. Hopefully he moves on further. Okay, so I already talked about, pre-writing phase when I was going over the reading. But here we're sort of like focusing on it for this week's assignment. And as I already mentioned, the pre-writing phase consists of the activities analyze, anticipate, and adapt. And what we're going to do for the analysis phase is create that work plan, but you already did it. You already did it when you did module 9. Here's a link to the module 9 proposals and formal reports where you did a work plan about this exact topic. So you might want to go back and find that and start with that. And in there, we did the problem and the purpose statements. Here I'm reiterating what I already mentioned about them. The problem statement tells you the diagnosis. What's wrong? What's the problem here? What's missing? Why am I writing this document? And then the purpose statement is, okay, given that problem, what am I going to do about it? What's the treatment plan? What am I going to address? What am I going to not address? What's my scope? What kind of research am I using? So yes, the problem statement says what's wrong. Purpose statement says what you're going to do about it. Okay, so for this assignment, our goal is to just answer some questions in order to create your work plan. So we're not drafting anything. We're pre-writing. So we're not actually writing anything, but we are. We're writing a problem purpose statement. So all I want you to do in this thing is just a text box one, is I just want you to copy these questions, paste them in the text box, and then answer them. And like I said, you already did problem purpose statement in module 9. Now you may want to change them now that you know more, whatever, okay? But for the rest of these questions, there's no right or wrong answer, okay? This whole thing is hypothetical, right? I'm giving you a hypothetical situation and asking you to write a hypothetical paper about it. So it's up to you to decide the answers to these questions. Like, how are the users going to react to this document? Will they be pleased, somewhat interested, neutral, or uninterested, displeased, or disappointed, or even hostile, right? So in this particular example, recall that we have a group of individuals that have probably spent a long time, many, many years, honing their skills, making these prosthetic devices by hand, right? Which requires lots of skill. And you're going to be kind of coming at them with like, hey, here's a bunch of new technology, blah, blah, blah. How do you think they're going to be taking that information? Again, hypothetically, you may say, hey, all the people in this group, they're great. They're like, oh, I'm interested in learning some new skills. I'm good with that. Or they may be like, get out of my face. I don't want this new stuff. I know what I'm doing. Get this technology out of here. Or it may be a mix of both. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. It's up to you to decide. So based on that, are you going to use the direct or the indirect strategy? Are you going to use formal, informal style? What about your tone? Conversational? Not. Do you need to use persuasive messaging? Or is this just, here's the facts, ma'am. Here's the paper. Here's the technology. Here's my summation about how I think this technology could apply here. Done. How are you going to develop this? Are you going to send this out as an email? Are you going to send this out as a Word file? Are you going to send this out as a what? You have to decide. What kind of headings? What kind of formatting? And what do you think about the diversity in this group? Is it pretty much all the same kind of people or the same kind of technology level? Or is it going to be a mix of some like old school people who don't even know how to use a computer versus younger tech savvy people? That was ageist, but hey, I can do it. I'm old. So I just want you to copy, paste these in the text box, answer them best you can. That's all we're doing right now. So this will help you with your analysis phase. All right. Okay, so that's kind of all we're doing for the final project this week, is we're just sort of answering some questions, getting prepared for your pre-writing stuff. Biggest things you're going to get out of that are your problem purpose statements. So now we're switching into grammar. So the lessons for this week's grammar are a versus and, two, there. So we're going to start with the a versus and. So when do we use a and when do we use use and in a sentence? Well, first of all, what the heck are those things? What kind of words are those? Well, they modify a noun, right? I could say an apple versus just apple. So technically, a word that modifies a noun is an adjective, right? Describes the noun. But grammarians put these into a special adjective category called articles. And we have two kinds of articles, definite article and indefinite article. There's only one definite article, the. We use that when you want to talk about a specific thing, specific noun, the apple. I'm not talking about just any old apple in the world, the apple. We use the indefinite articles, and there's two, a versus an, when we want to talk about any old noun, not a particular one. So an apple. So take an apple, chop it up. Not take the apple and chop it up. Okay, great. But when do we use a and when do we use an? Which one do we use? Well, generally speaking, it depends on the word that follows. The word that follows begins with a vowel, we use an. If the word that follows begins with a consonant, we use a. Here's some examples. An apple, since apple starts with a vowel, a. A zebra, since zebra starts with a consonant, z. Okay, done, right? Of course not. This is English. It's never as simple as that. So that's sort of the general guideline, but it really depends on if the following word begins with a vowel sound or a consonant sound. So, of course, there are exceptions. Here's a couple of the exceptions. The vowel U can sound like you, or it can sound like right? So in the case where it sounds like you, sort of a Y sound, we use a as if it were consonant, because Y is consonant. So here's some examples. A union, since union starts like union. A unicorn, since unicorn sounds like unicorn. If it doesn't have that sound, we go back to the normal rule where we use an when it starts with a vowel. So an undertone, an umbrella. So here's the difference, right? Sound it out. Umbrella versus unicorn, right? Versus U. Here's another exception, the consonant H. It can be unaspirated. What does that mean? That means when you're speaking the word, you don't put much air behind the H sound, such that it can be either completely silent or nearly silent. So in those cases, we use an. So here's some examples. An hour, since hour sounds like hour, there's no sound, right? We don't aspirate the H. And heiress, since heiress sounds like heiress, we don't make the H sound. An historic event. You say, what? Wait a minute. When I say historic, I aspirate the H like historic. Okay? But English people, like that live in England, they don't. They say historic. They don't aspirate the H, or they barely do. And right now they make the rules. So for historic, even though American English speakers aspirate the H a little bit, historic, you still have to say an historic. If you watch the news, you'll find the newscaster saying, an historic event happened today. This is getting some pushback right now from American English people who are like, wait, that's not right. But at this point, it's still an. So if it's not this unaspirated H, goes back to the normal rule, we use a. So a house, because house aspirates the H. A human, because human aspirates the H. All right. So these things still apply even if it's just an abbreviation or an acronym. So like an SEC employee is like, hey, wait a minute, S, that's a consonant, it should be A. Well, no, because S makes the ESS sound. So it has a vowel sound. And FBI agent, since F makes an EFF sound. Conversely, a UFO, even though U is a vowel, it's making the U sound here, so we use a. Here's a little bonus grammar nerd thing for y'all. So I said acronyms here. Are these acronyms? Like, yeah, those are acronyms. Well, actually, they're not. They're called initialisms because we don't say SEC employee, we don't say FIBI agent, we don't say UFO, right? We say the actual initials of it. So technically, although everybody calls these acronyms, technically acronym is a new word that you coin from the letters. And if you say the letters, that's an initialism. Who cares? Whatever. Like, do you say ASAP or do you say ASAP? If you say ASAP, that's an initialism. If you say ASAP, that's an acronym. Okay, so here's our little thing. We're going to do this all together. Student view. We're going to do this all together. Copy all these. I'm going to put them in the text box. We're going to make this bigger so everybody can see. All right. We're all going to do this together. I'm not going to do it for you. So blank airplane was in the hangar. Is it A or an, and why?
And
And, yes, why?
the airplane was in the hangar.
Airplane starts with the letter A.
A.
Owl, right? How about this one? Blank baby will know its mother. A or an?
A.
A. Why? Because what kind of letter is that?
Let me look right there. Go back right there.
Consonant, right? Not a vowel.
I need to bring it down so I can be reading it.
How about this one? Blank eagle is majestic bird. A or an? Karina, what do you think?
Thank you.
A eagle? What's this kind
Oh,
of?
no.
And
Right. Yeah, I think most of these, if you can hear it in your head, you're like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to teach you the rules because there will definitely be words you're like, I don't know. What should it be? So an eagle, why? Because E is a vowel. Blank colander has holes in it. Is it A or an? What kind of letter is C? Is that a vowel or a consonant? I know you know this. I'm just going to stand here until someone says A.
gosh, I lost my number. Where am I doing? Oh my.
Hey.
Blank iris is a beautiful flower. What kind of a letter is I? Is that a vowel or a consonant?
Okay. No.
Did that sound right? A iris is a beautiful flower?
No.
An iris is
I didn't
beautiful.
hear it.
Yeah, which one sounds right? A iris or an iris? And why? Because I is a vowel, right? Blank dynamo is a kind of like a motor. Is it a dynamo or an dynamo?
A.
A. It sounds like Fonzie. A dynamo. Why? Because D is a consonant, right? Here's my example. You probably don't even know what the word dynamo is, right? There'll be cases like, I don't know what this word is. Well, should it be A or an? All right, now it's going to get tricky. Helicopter. Helicopter airlifted the injured hiker to safety. Is it a helicopter or an helicopter? Do you aspirate the H? Helicopter. Yeah, I'm aspirating the H. A or an?
It's A.
A, yes. So why though? Because I'm aspirating the H. So H is there. It's a consonant, right? What about this one? Now don't be a weirdo that says curb. It's not herbalist, it's herbalist, right? So I'm not aspirating the H in this case. Herbalist. So is it a herbalist or an herbalist?
Oops.
And
And why? Because since I'm not aspirating the H, E is what I hear. That's a vowel. It's like E or A, right? More tricky ones. Ultrasound. Is it a ultrasound or an ultrasound of the baby showed it was a girl?
and
What kind of letter is U and what sound is it making?
Yeah.
Ultrasound. Making the sound, right? Not making the U sound, making the sound. So
And ultrasound, like an herbalist.
that's right. And because it's a vowel, right? But what about this one? Ukrainian shot down the Russian jet. Is it a Ukrainian or an Ukrainian?
It's because it's one person, so it's an A, right?
Well,
A Ukrainian. Speaking about one, no?
but it's not about whether it's plural or not. It's about the sound that the word makes. So
Ah.
Ukrainian makes the U sound, which does not sound like a vowel. It sounds like the consonant Y, Y, right? So use A. Everybody got it? Is that confusing? Confusing? A little bit. Well, 90% of the time it'll be straightforward, like these first ones. It's just like, hey, does the word start with a vowel or does the word start with a consonant? It's a vowel and consonant A. Done. It's only these weird ones with the H's and the U's that you got to be careful about.
consent.
Consonant is if it's not a vowel, right? So the vowel is E, I, O, U. Don't do this sometimes why I think that's bully.
Okay.
Don't do that. Okay. So A, I, O, U, those are your vowels. So if it's a vowel, just like in these examples, airplane, eagle, iris, those are all vowels. And consonant is every other word. It's not a vowel. B, C, D, so on. So baby, consonant. A. Colander, consonant. A. Dynamo, consonant. A. Notice that A, B, C, D, E. Okay. Does that make more sense? Help a little bit? Maybe it is confusing. Submit. Yay. Shrink it back down. Okay, move on. Everybody got it? Okay, moving on. Next one is 2, 2, and 2. So we call these homophones. Homo means same phone sound. They have the same sound, right? That's the problem here. Same sound. You're just talking to me. If you're not writing to me, I don't know which one you're using. You say two. I'm like, oh, is it T-O, T-O-O, or T-W-O? I don't know. But when you're writing it, now I can see. And it has to be the right thing. It's the right word. So we have two, which is a preposition. Remember the parts of speech, preposition is mostly a positional word. It's got position right in the name, preposition. So it refers to a place, direction, or position. So in my example, look to the north. So I think about pointing to. Then we have TOO. That can mean a couple of different things. It can mean also, or extremely, or additionally. So it's an adverb. It modifies a verb, right? I want to go to, meaning also, or it's too hot, meaning extremely or additionally. And the last one is TWO, which is the number two. Technically is an adjective. You're describing a noun, two apples. There are two sides to every story. Okay, so here's your goal. I'm giving you this example sentence. It's all wrong. In the way that uses two, two, and two, and we're going to fix it. All right. So we're going to copy this sentence. We're gonna paste it down here. I'm gonna make this bigger. Bigger, bigger. Bigger. Okay, so let's just go through this, and every time I get one of the two words, I'm gonna stop and you're gonna tell me which one I should use. I am sending this message to you. Is that the right one?
No,
No, which one should it be?
till,
That's right. Because it's a direction to you, right?
Mm.
Because I thought you would like to read it too. Is that the right one?
no,
No. Which one should I use?
TOO,
TOO, because it's additionally. You would like, I thought you'd like to read it additionally. The message has two parts. Is that the right one? No. Which one should it be?
TWO,
That's right. The number two, right? Two parts. To whom it may concern. Is that right?
no,
No. To whom I'm pointing to. So that's the TO, right?
Just went O.
TO, yeah, right? The preposition pointing direction to whom it may concern. And too many cooks spoil the broth. Is that the right one?
No,
No,
because
it'd be.
it's and also.
And also, so that's the TOO, right? Additionally. If you liked it, please let me know and send me 2 thumbs up. We're looking for the number here, right? So the number, obviously, TWO. To me too. So to me, that one is the only one in here which is correct. But this one is not. We want the as well or additionally. Which one is that?
Double O.
Double O, correct. Everybody got it? Now, do you feel like I already knew this? I just had to hear the sound. I know which one it is, or are you like, no, I always get this wrong?
It was good practice.
Yeah, I think I get it right 90% of the time, but there's that 10% of the time I'm like, wait a minute, I used the wrong one. This is where proofreading, this is one of those ones where proofreading it yourself, you probably won't see it. Give it to somebody else, will be like, what? You used the wrong T right there. All right, submit. Yay. Back down. Okay, and the last one here, grammar. There, and there. Also homophones, right? Same sound, different words. And we'll start with the problematic one first. THERE. It's an adverb and a pronoun and a noun and an adjective and an expletive. It's complicated. Take a look here. I'm going to come back to this after we do this, talk more about there. But for this exercise, let's just think of it as the adverb, meaning it refers to a place or location. A hint that can help you remember is it contains here inside the word, indicating it's about a place. The book is over there on the table. Versus THEIR, which is a pronoun, always pronoun, shows ownership, belongs to them. Hint that may or may not work for you, contains the word heir, which suggests possession, like, you know, he's the heir to the throne. Example, their house is the one with the blue door. Their house, they own the house. And the last one, THEY', that's a contraction of they are. So this one's easy. Anytime you, like, can I say they are? And does it make sense? I'm good, right? Just a contraction. If you can substitute they are, you're golden. My example, they're going to the park. I could say they are going to the park. Okay, it's that one. Okay, same thing. I have this one sentence here. It's all wrong. We're going to have to fix it. I will make it bigger. Make it bigger. Okay, I put their belongings, so this is the contraction. If I substitute they are, I put they are belongings, that makes no sense, so that's obviously wrong. Which one should it be?
THEIR.
Yes, are. It's a pronoun. Talking about an antecedent that we mentioned earlier. Who are they? I don't know. A sentence before maybe said, there are two people in the building or something like that. But wherever they were, I put their belongings over there. So over, I'm pointing over there. Which one should it be?
THERE.
Yes, THERE. The preposition. At least we're saying it's preposition right now. Over there. So that they're out of the way. Which one do I want to use here? I put their belongings over there so that they are out of the way. Make a contraction out of they are. Which one is it?
CH.
Apostrophe RE, right?
Yeah.
But once I did that, they got angry and lost their temper. That's the wrong one. Which one should it be? It's their temper. They own it, right? It's not my temper, it's their temper. They own the temper. I told them that they're rude people. What word do I want there?
THEIR.
That's the word it is. So that means that's a pronoun, right? But that's not what I'm trying to say here. I'm trying to say that they are rude people. So it's a contraction, right? They are rude people and should not leave their, so that word is the contraction. So it should not leave they are stuff there. That makes no sense.
THERE.
THERE? Is it pointing? Whose stuff is it? It belongs to them. It's their possession, right?
Yeah.
It's their stuff. Their stuff there. Okay, Karina, this is where you say pointing over there, direction, preposition. That-
THERE.
That is right. Okay, everybody got that? Does it really kind of mess with your head to read it all wrong? It really hurts my head when I read it wrong. It's like, yeah. Good. Oh, I need my confetti. Submit. Okay. All right. Any questions on any of those three things? Okay, there's a short little module quiz here. It's only 6 points, just to check that you do that on your own. The discussion for this week is simple. I'm just asking you this question. How do you feel about the extra concerns that exist for technical writing as compared to normal business writing? Remember that diagram I had? We had the big picture is technical writing, and inside it we have, or business writing, inside it we have technical writing. Is this an endeavor that might interest you as a potential career? Do you think you could be a technical writer? There's a lot of work out there for technical writers. I'm just interested if you're like, nah, it's not for me, or yeah, it could be something, or I'd like to try it, whatever. Let's talk about it. Okay. Here's something we've been asked to put in here. So this is your chance to have your input known about our programs here at Real. So every department here, we're in the Haas department now, renamed to Haas, humanities and social sciences. So we have to create a program plan every couple of years that assesses the local job needs in the area, your experiences, and the curriculums that we teach. So this is a little survey, real quick, few questions. Optional, but you can either click on this link on the computer or you can grab that with your phone, that QR code. It'll take you to the form. You answer some questions. And again, this is your chance to give your feedback to us in terms of planning the future of our programs here at Cabrera. So take advantage of that. All right, and that's pretty much it for the week. The takeaways for this module, where we examine the similarities and differences between normal business writing and technical writing. I gave you the scope of the technical writing final assignment and the subject matter expert AI. And then we applied the analyze, anticipate, and adapt activities of the pre-writing phase of the 3x3 process. And then we looked at A versus and, there, and 2, 2, 2. What are we going to do next? We're going to go to the next phase of the drafting phase of the 3x3 process, and you're going to do your draft of your final assignment. Any questions on any of this stuff? Don't forget to do your exam 2 by 10 o'clock tonight. Those who haven't got it in. Got to get caught up. Okay. All right. I'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Mr. Strong,
Yeah.
did Karina leave? I wanted to ask her about that tutoring.
No.
You got here?
Oh, Karina.
Yeah.
Hey, so ¿dónde dices que agarraste tutoring and they help you one-on-one, ¿verdad?
I am Watsonville, you know the public library, the big one?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm in Watsonville Literacy Center, so it's next to it's in the library in the same building, but next to the entrance of the library.
But not Cabrillo Library.
No, not the
public
Brio, the public library. Yeah.
Oh, so it's like where the handicap, right? There's like a new office right there.
Yeah.
Oh, so go in there and they have tutors?
Yeah, you can just ask at the library too. Ask them where it's at, and they'll show you.
Oh, do you know what time they close?
They should be there till like 5 or 6.
I'm gonna call. Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
It's really working out great for Karina.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Yes, I got some catching up to do.